Welcome to the Filmcast review of The Fall Guy. I'm going to read the plot summary from IMDb. Quote, a down-and-out stuntman must find the missing star of his ex-girlfriend's blockbuster film. End quote. This movie is directed by David Leitch, one of the original directors of John Wick. He's since brought us movies such as Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde, and Bullet Train, which is a huge hit in 2022. So I was really looking forward to this one. You know,
Let's not forget Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. How could you forget it, Dave?
It's a really good question. How can you remember it? Might be a better question. But anyway, despite my issues with Hobbs and Shaw, I think what has been true of John Wick and all the other movies he's made is like a lot of great stunt work, a lot of great action, in these movies. And this movie, The Fall Guy, is kind of a tribute to the. I don't know if you guys had this. I went to go see this in IMAX, and the David Leitch and Rylan Gosling appeared before me on screen. Did you see this?
Yes.
And they said this movie is kind of our celebration of tribute to stunt people, and it's nice because I think stunt people don't get enough credit.
That's true.
They don't have an Oscar category. They are often unseen, unknown people.
They're the unknown stunt man who makes Eastman look so tough.
Indeed.
So
all that said, a lot of things going for this movie, even just going into it. Devindra Hardar, what did you think of The Fall Guy?
You know, guys, I think I love this movie. Like, if I had enough time this weekend, if my body was not physically just fully injured and exhausted from dealing with two kids for Sunday, I would have seen this movie a second time. I was actually had tickets to get it for Sunday night. And I just kept the tickets going because it's all unlimited pass, man. Add to the box office for this movie.
What we call that thing that was keeping you from seeing this a second time, we call that the Phantom Menace.
It's true. It's also the Phantom Menace. Listen, I had already seen The Fall Guy. I wanted to do something else with my time. But yeah, I love this movie. It is funny, has great action, like all of David Leitch's stuff. I don't think all the sequences work. There's at least one we could talk about in spoilers. I think is just kind of there to be there and doesn't really make a difference to the movie. But overall, like this is what I want from action movies. I want big, sweeping action, really cool practical effects. Actors I like who are funny and who I enjoy seeing together. This is a grand old time. This movie is so fun. I would have loved to just like sit and be in this world for like 4 or 5 hours. You know, like I just absolutely loved the tone of this movie, kind of the vibe of it, everything around it. Absolutely adored this movie. But just like the Academy, audiences did not show up for the stunt people. That's a shame. I take this personally just a little bit because I feel like people are always asking, like, hey, can I have, big movies are kind of new. This is not fully original. I know it's based on a show, but at least the concept is pretty fresh. It's not like something we've seen recently. The stunts that are in here are kind of unique and different and not just like the Mission Impossible stuff or stuff we've seen from other films. And people like these actors. So I'm going to spend the summer just wondering, like, what the hell happened here? Like, the trailers were good. It was being marketed for a while. Like, I think the trailers also sold this movie pretty well. I'm just sitting here kind of sad. Like, here is a great movie, a great time at the cinema. And I really wish more people showed up for it.
Yeah. I mean, look, they expected this movie to do around 30 to 33 million. It did 28.5.
Okay, sure.
It's a little bit underwhelming. I think people were hoping they expected it to do 33, but I think they were hoping it might break out in a big way because it's well liked. It has two of the biggest stars on the planet.
If Bullet Train can break out, why not?
Right. Bullet Train. This movie did not do as well as Bullet Train, and that's a big problem.
A far worse movie.
Right.
A movie I enjoyed, but not nearly on this level.
Not nearly as charming, certainly. Jeff Canada, what did you think of The Fall Guy?
Well, Dave, what I thought of The Fall Guy is best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Hit us up, Jeff.
With humor and action at once, it's Gosling and Emily Blunt's on-screen chemistry. You'll fall for them and see romance as fun as great stunts.
Chemistry and them and see, Jeff.
Them and see.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo.
I agree 100% with everything Devindra said. I might even go even farther. I think this is that rarest of thing in the cinema that I can recommend to every person I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is thoroughly entertaining, from start to finish. This is a sure bet. If you want to give a movie to your grandma, give a movie to your best friend, give a movie to a stranger on the street that they will go into the theater and have a great time with, The Fall Guy fits the bill.
4-quadrant movie, baby.
This is
4-quadrant movie.
as entertaining a time as I've had in a seat in a movie theater in a long time. It is just fun. Start to finish, charming, just wonderful performances, great chemistry from the leads. It's a great love, a romantic comedy, as Jermaine Lucero told us. It really is a romantic comedy in a lot of ways.
Here. Yeah.
Really wonderful set pieces, awesome actual human beings doing stunts. And it's also a love letter to movies in general. If you are a person that listens to this show, chances are you're going to get something even more out of The Fall Guy.
Absolutely.
Because it's got all these great in-jokes. There's Comic-Con references in this movie.
Specific Hall H reference multiple times.
In retrospect, we should have knew the movie
that was a death note.
Was doomed from a box office perspective when they mentioned Comic-Con. Yeah.
It's true. It's cursed. Yeah, I am really sad that I put this as number 4 on my list. It's going to be a massive. It
will be lucky to be in the top 10. Basically,
this is a massive flaw in my list. But I agree with Devindra. Like, this should be a movie that crushes. This should be a movie. This is, like I said, as sure a bet as you can get. You will have a blast if you go see this. It's so funny. And you know what I love most about this movie, honestly? The script. It's a fantastic script.
Yep.
It's got so many wonderful setups and payoffs. It works on just a pure script level in a way most movies don't even attempt anymore. It's structurally sound. Everything is there for a reason, and stuff that is funny in the moment also is a setup for something bigger to pay off later. It just is so well made. I really love it. There's not a single element of it that I think is lacking. I can't believe 2 weeks in a row with Challengers and this. I'm like, this are the 2 of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah,
like back to back. And neither of them is doing great at the box office, but it's a shame because I think this is like summer movie. This is classic 90s summer movie.
Absolutely.
Like, you go and you have a great time and you walk out feeling awesome. You don't need to see any other movie to understand it.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that people weren't coming out to see this. It's so good.
Yeah. Again, I think it's doing okay, but Devindra in our pre-review segment was talking about how one of the big problems with a movie like this is it cost over $120 million to make, right? And if this movie had cost $60 million, it would be like, wow, that's a hit, right? It's doing super well.
Yep.
But there's some big stars, some big stunts, some big action in this movie. It almost feels like they're like, we're only going to be able to make one of these movies about stunt people, like in this era, and so they might as well just
go for it.
Who cares if they do it, if it does well at the box office or not? Let's just pour everything we can into it, and I completely respect and admire that. Hey, it's not going to surprise you guys to learn I also had a great time with this film.
Shocked.
I love this movie as well. It's so much fun. There's explicit references to action movies and also homages to action movies in the action scenes. Love that. But one of my favorite parts about the movie, I think, is that in the movie, Rylan Gosling plays the stunt person of a fake actor, like a not real actor named Tom Ryder, who I think is very clearly based off of Tom Cruise.
But they mentioned Tom Cruise in the movie.
Yeah, so it's a universe where Tom Cruise and Tom Ryder both exist, which is very weird.
How can that happen?
They cannot occupy the same space at the same time or else they'll explode. And I think that the reason I bring that up is because I think that in general, it's just worth paying attention to who gets credit for making the stuff that we make. And in particular, something that really chafes me is when I watch all the special features for like the Mission Impossible movies, right? And it's always presented as like Tom did this, Tom did that, Tom did it. There's no CG. He really did it, and it's like you're erasing the work of two entire categories of people who worked in the film: the stunt people and the visual effects people.
Yeah.
Both of whom worked really, really hard to make Tom Cruise look good. And this movie, posits the notion: what if other people helped to make Tom Cruise look good, right? And
I would love to see Tom Cruise's reaction to this movie.
I want to see Tom Cruise's stunt person's reaction to this movie, 'cause I think they're like pumping their fist and being like, "Yes, finally." And I love that, to hell with how well the movie did at the box office.
Yes,
I love that we have this movie that is just a tribute to all the people who risk their lives to make the pictures that we enjoy. It just is like, okay, hey, like, we can't give them an Oscar, but at least we can give them this movie, and our support of it, and our box office dollars.
I have been recommending this to so many people.
Yep.
All weekend long, everybody I ran into, I was like, you got to go see Fall Guy. It's so good. It really feels like, I can't imagine anybody walking out of this movie and being like, well, that sucked. It's just so fun. It's such a charming, wonderful movie. Witty, clever. Also, I want to say, guys, as the only one of us that's a big fan of the TV show.
Yeah, which exists. Yes.
The iconic thing from the TV show from when I was a kid that I wanted more than anything ever is the pickup truck. The pickup truck from the Fall Guy was the coolest vehicle I could imagine when I was 6. And it's in this movie. They used the pickup truck. They got it.
Well, anyway, we all like the Fall Guy. A few more things to mention in the spoiler section, so let's get to it. Spoilers for the Fall Guy starting right now. I don't know how much there is to talk about in terms of plot. It's a very simple plot this movie has.
I mean, there are twists or surprises, but I did want to shout out the Lee Majors cameo for Mr. Jeff Kanata.
It was amazing. I stood up in my chair and went, Lee!
Did you really do that?
I did. I really did.
Were there still people in the theater?
Yeah. It was a press screening. It was.
You were still the only one.
I was the only one that.
You're the guy that the other critics talk about. Like, do you remember that guy?
Remember the weird Lee Majors fan?
Weird Lee Majors fan.
My only question about this movie, guys, is where did that Miami Vice jacket come from? Because he was a stuntman on Miami Vice. There was a stunt show, but that ended in the 90s. So when does this movie take place? I don't. Is he 55 years old? Ryan
I think it was supposed to be the movie, the Miami Vice movie, not the TV show.
It could be the movie, except the movie
with Colin Farrell.
Yeah, but the design of the jacket was
it's
entirely.
It's not
the
that
show.
Miami Vice logo.
It was entirely.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
The hot pink, like yeah. It's if it were the movie, it would have like the movie's logo on it, right? Anyway, so that just stuck in my craw. Like I just have been doing the math trying to figure that out. But a cool jacket, Ryan Gosling in a cool jacket. This movie knows the assignment, right?
Yeah. My favorite part of the whole movie is they referenced, I think, the Bourne movies, and then Emily Blunt does the move from the Bourne movie where she takes a binder and puts it at Ryan Gosling's throat and punches
binder
it.
Punch.
And that is I think that is a reference to the Bourne.
That's Ultimatum,
right? When he uses
after
a book,
the chase.
when he uses a book to take out.
But
Death.
she also uses a pen for a bit too, so that's a Bourne Identity
reference.
Bourne
Identity reference.
We are sad people.
That is a gag for like 18 people, of which 3 of them are on this podcast.
But there's so many of those things in this movie. That's what it's so wonderful how rich this movie is with movie lore and movie references and movie fun. I don't think there's a ton of people that even understand the Hall H thing. It's like
nobody does. Yeah.
And that's what's so wonderful about this movie is it kind of doesn't care. And there's so many inventive, fun, clever things. Just the like on set shenanigans of the way jokes play out on the set in the the first shot we get on the set where the explosions keep going off behind them. There's so many awesome camera moves in this movie that like they had to hit just right in order to play correctly. It's just, I love this movie. It's so wonderful.
One thing I really appreciated was that they show you the actual making of the movie in the credits.
Yeah, loved it.
And I think that's actually important because visual effects these days are actually legitimately so good that you might think, oh, those people weren't actually like in danger
Yeah.
when they did it. Ryan Gosling didn't actually ride behind a truck on
Yeah.
a tiny skateboard
Bring back
or whatever.
the Jackie Chan
No, he
post
didn't.
credits.
Yes.
Like, yeah, making up.
Yeah, he had like 4 stunt people or whatever that were doubling him in this movie. But yeah, they show you like, hey, a lot of this stuff we actually did it for real, and you can tell for most of it that that's the case. So I appreciate that. I also had fun imagining what the pitch was for Jason Momoa to be in this movie.
I know.
It's like, hey, Jason Momoa, come to set for like 2 days, and we're gonna have Aaron Taylor Johnson play this part, and then we're gonna have Ryan Gosling play the part, and then you're gonna do the exact same thing as those 2 guys.
I just feel like Momoa's down for this kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, he's just the guy who's down. You know.
Yeah.
It's so great. This movie's a blast, man.
Such a blast. Shout out to Aaron Taylor Johnson, by the way, who I think is doing a great job of like embodying shitbag Hollywood, guy.
Yeah.
You know, I think like he is maybe from some personal experience that he's seen from people, it just feels like he's really nailing that for some reason. Interesting. Yeah.
I will say it was a little bit upsetting to watch this movie after watching the documentary "The Boy Who Lived," the David Holmes story, which is about a horrifying, not about, but like in it, a horrifying accident happens to a stunt person that's like very similar to the accident that happens at the beginning of this film. Yeah, like it's just like I think it's my sense is that a lot of this stuff happens in relative safety and like certainly in modern day, like a lot of precautions are taken. But there's also like stuff that can go wrong. We've seen like it happens. Stuff goes wrong with some frequency, and
especially like older movies, like
especially older movies that didn't have
they just did things and hope it didn't kill anybody, and sometimes it did. It's terrifying. Yeah.
And I think that, and I do think the movie gives you a sense that like, hey, that could happen. Somebody can be sidelined by like an injury, and it does show you like how dangerous some of these things really are. But yeah, I also really liked the opening shot too, where
incredible
Ryan Gosling, he goes up and he has the accident. It's all done in one long shot, so you see that it's Ryan Gosling actually doing the thing.
And it's so great. I mean, he has to be charming and act and like, and then prepare for I just can't imagine doing that all in one thing.
That's his superpower.
It's
just like being like charm on a dime. Yeah.
And the movie is so wonderfully self-reflexive about that stuff, because later on it talks about they want to do it as a oneer, and there's so many things of the movie within a movie commenting on the movie we're actually watching.
Like, should we do split screen? And then
that whole sequence with the split screen is incredible. And the choreography of all of that, for the timing of all of their legs to be onto the table at the same moment, and all of that, that level of technical mastery is all over this movie. And it's so wonderful to see. It's these subtle, small things that really just show the care and effort that was put in. This is a special movie, and I want more people to see it.
It's hard. Like, I don't want to feel disappointed in audiences, but I genuinely do because of this movie. So I hope it has a long tail. I hope like everyone's saying like, this is great. Take your friends, go back and see it multiple times. Like, I hope that is true, because guys, like there have been so much garbage that has done shockingly well in theaters. And I think back to last year, right? And Barbenheimer was a whole phenomenon and everything. Barbie was good. Oppenheimer, pretty good to most people. Were they only mainly successful because of that marketing pitch? Like, were people just responding to the hype or to the quality? Because right now we have something that has been marketed, but not with the like fervor of the Barbenheimer like union, and people aren't showing up. So that just kind of makes me sad too.
My assessment is, which is worth as much as it costs, which is $0 for most people that aren't patrons. Ironically, worth more for patrons. Is I don't think the marketing did a good enough job making this movie out to be an event. And maybe that's impossible. Maybe that's an impossible task.
Those trailers were long, and showed off a lot of stunts.
Yeah. But I think when you think of like Barbenheimer and Barbie and Oppenheimer. It's like those movies were events. Like everyone's talking about them. You have to see it in theaters. You cannot wait for 3 weeks for this to be on PVOD, right? You have to, right?
It does seem like that's the entire job of film marketing at this point. Is why do I need to leave my house to see this?
100%.
And it's such a bummer.
Yeah,
that's the job now.
It's an extremely high bar.
It's a high bar that excludes a whole category of movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or is extremely difficult for a whole category of movies.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. Hey guys, Abigail on VOD this week.
Yeah.
That movie came out 4 weeks ago.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
you should watch it, by the way. It's really
I do want to see it. I do want to see it because I did not make time for it in theaters. And hey, I will take advantage of this offer, but I could have waited another 4 weeks. I actually wish like there was more room to give these movies chances in theaters, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for the big event movies, I don't think it like Dune 2 is out. Right? Like you can watch it in theaters, but it's also out on PVOD. And for the real Kung Fu Panda is still making money in theaters. That's out on PVOD still. So like for the movies that people turn out in theaters to see, or that are events, or family events, family gatherings, or whatever, it doesn't really hurt to have the PVOD available. I know like people feel strongly like, why are you releasing on PVOD? And Devindra, your sentiment has been repeated many times, but I think it actually, like, if the movie's a big enough event, it doesn't hurt that much, in my opinion.
Sure. Well, especially after 4 weeks. Like,
especially after 4 weeks. I agree. Like, but the thing is, for movies, you can know by the Friday evening that the movie comes out how well that movie's going to do in theaters, basically. That is how sophisticated the box office tracking is these days. And so I don't begrudge them for, like, it wouldn't surprise me if this was out in premium video on demand in 3 weeks, right? And I don't think it's going to hurt it that much. I think it, so that's me. But I think there is something about the bigger picture idea, like on a picture to picture, I don't think it hurts that much. But I think there is something to the bigger picture idea of audiences feeling like, hey, we can just wait a few weeks and watch it at home, right? Like, and that maybe does have a industry-wide negative effect, as opposed to like specifically for this title. Who knows? We don't really know exactly what the causes were, but at the end of the day, it's a great movie, and people should go watch it. Any other scenes or stuff people want to talk about?
I do want to shout out. I think there's a sword fight that happens, like random sword fight with the girlfriend of Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. Happens for no reason. We never see that character again.
Right.
It's a fake sword cutting through things.
Ends for no reason.
It's fun, but it's sort of like, we could have just cut that. Just leave that one for the DVD or something. Because like the whole thing is like, oh yeah, it's a fake sword. It's cutting through objects in the scene. Are those objects also fake? Are those also props? I don't know.
What did you think of the action scene that had like the cartoon or not cartoon animated components to it when he's high on some drug? I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, dude,
that's fun.
There's been a million high on drugs visualizations in movies over the last 10 years. This might be my very favorite.
Oh, really? Wow.
The action scene with it is so cool. And just like placing a unicorn in the background, amazing. Just awesome. I love just having a unicorn.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you need.
That's it. That's the
so
whole
good.
gig. Yeah.
I love the truck chase and everything to do. I love the dog commands, the Phil Collins cutbacks, the cutting back and forth between karaoke. Oh man. It's so fun.
It has this kind of like
to Phil Collins.
Phil
like
Collins.
Someone got my letters.
Yeah. About that unicorn stuff, it has this kind of like Zucker Brothers esque sensibility to it. Of like, you say, just like no qualms about being very zany. You know? And I appreciate that. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I also just like that the ending kept one-upping itself. Like, you're like, oh, the ending is going to build up to this big thing, and then it's like, oh, but there's another big thing. Oh, and there's another big thing. And I think concluding with Ryan Gosling falling off of the helicopter is it's a beautiful shot. Like it looks amazing. So anyway, at the end of the day, it is really impressive that David Leitch made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.